In this video, I'm going to show you how I turn this track into this. So here at Bandcraft, we're known for more promotional stuff. We do music videos and we do all the content that you need if you're a band to get out there and get your stuff heard, to make yourself look good, branding, and music videos and that sort of stuff. But there's another side to what we do as well, and that's music production. And me personally, I've done music production and mixing for the last 15 years or so, but I've only ever done it for my own stuff, and especially for my own band. The Breakdown, check it out here. New album coming out 8th of May, Distraction Reaction. Go and get your pre-saves. But there was a band that we listened to on our listen list videos where we react to live brand new music, and I just felt it was lacking a little bit. I like the vibe, I like the style. They're sort of going for a classic rock sort of style, sort of late 70s, early 80s. Guitar playing sounded really wicked. Vocals sounded really, really good, but the drums were totally lacking. So I reached out to them, whitenoisemachine, and I just said, hey, look, we really like your song. We featured it on our channel, but I think that something could be done. I'd like to have a little bit of a play around with it. And they said, yeah, absolutely. So they sent over the stems to me, and I chucked it into a session, and I wanted to approach it with a slightly different way of working than I normally would. I mean, when you're working with a band and you're part of a band, you have to put mixes back and forth and you have to agree on stuff. But I thought, why not approach this from a pure view of taking something, making it better, or making it different, I should say, and see what I can come up with. I didn't want to spend too long on it. One of my objectives was, if it sounds good first time, let's go with that. Obviously, I had the original track to use as a reference as well of what should be where and how it should sound. I wanted to sort of stick with the vibe of the track as well. I didn't want to make it too polished, too modern. It had sort of a live classic rock feel, so I wanted to make sure that was, that was keeping that. And what I want to do here is I'm just going to show you what I started off with, a couple of things that I did as well, and how I changed stuff up, sort of plugins that I used and process. So maybe it'll help you guys out. And if there's a track that you want me to take a look at, then get in touch below and we'd love to take a look at it. And don't forget, for all your promotional stuff and your videos and artwork and content, check out bandcraft.co.uk. This is an absolute plug. Go and check it out, and we'd love to get in touch and see what we can do. We've also got a brand new app on there which helps you make your release schedule, uses AI. Go and check that out as well. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to jump on over to the session, going to run you through it, have a little listen, and see what I come up with. So here we are in the session. First of all, coffee. I'll keep us going for a little bit. Let me explain what I use here. So I use Cakewalk Sonar, the paid version. I know that there's bigger and better DAWs out there, but this is one I've been using for years, and I know my way around it. So look, you can put music in, you can fiddle with it, you get music out. So I'm happy with it. Fight me in the comments if you disagree. I also use the Slate Digital Complete Access plugin bank. So it's got all of the Slate Digital plus the SSL plugins as well, which are fantastic. The channel strips are really, really good. I am also using a new plugin to me. I know it's not brand new, but it's the Soundcity Reverb plugin. And what that does is it remics stuff, or use it as a reverb that reproduces the Soundcity studio, the live recording studio sounds. And you can put anything into it. So you can put drums into it, specifically drums. You can have guitars in there, vocals in there, and you can have it all blend in as if it's recorded live in there. And I think it sounds really, really good, and I'll show you the examples on there. The other new plugin I'm using, which is brand new, which is called the Bus Clipper. and that's from Slate Digital. And you will see that later on, but that allows us to get a little bit more volume, actually quite a lot of volume. It's quite an intelligent plugin. I've got that on the drums, but I've also got that on the main mix as well, so we can get that volume level up as much as we can, because why not? More loud is more better. Fact, I'm sure there's science on that. So just on the tracks that were sent over, tons of tracks as usual. There's about 25 backing vocal tracks, and I think what they had done is, rather than doing separate takes within one track and comping it, they recorded separate takes onto separate tracks, which, look, if it works, it's fine. It captured it and we've got it all. That's not a problem. A lot of the tracks that came over were pre-processed, so there were some gating on the drums. There's a little bit of reverb on some other stuff as well, but not too bad. Let's look at the drums. So first of all, the kick. We've got two kicks. We've got the kick in and kick out. The kick out had far too much bleed on it, so I've muted that. We're not going to be using that. Let's listen to the kick in. I've disabled the reverb. So that's just the kick sound that we had. Now let's engage some of the plugins. And you can hear how different that is. We've got the lows coming in from the sub generator. There wasn't hardly any lows on that kick drum, so I'm using this to add some extra in the bottom. It's really great for that. You can add a little bit of drive as well. I'm using, in the virtual mix rack, I'm using a virtual channel to give it that analog sound. Don't forget, we're going for a classic rock kind of live feel. I'm using the Neve input on there. I'm also using the Neve preamp with the EQ on there as well, taking out around about the 350. I always find on kick drums that woof sort of sound sits at around about 350, so I knock that out. Add a little bit of 60 or thereabouts to give us that kick punch. Using the Pultec, or their Pultec version, I should say, on this. Again, at around about 60. Fiddling about with the boost in the attenuator, which sort of adds and takes away at the same time, but it kind of works. And then I'm adding a boost at the 5K to give that beta sound that's at the top that you can hear there. Then I've got their version of the distressor that's giving us some compression, not too much, and I'm mixing it out as well. That adds a little bit more character to the sound. Then the bomber. I love the bomber. This just adds oomph to it. That's the technical term, oomph. You can change the drive and the intensity. Always have it on the fat, because I think that sounds the best there. Make sure that you got the needle in the middle. That's where it's doing the most work. Next, virtual tape machine. Have this across all of it on every track that I do, because this adds that analog warmth. And you can, if you crank it, you can get a little bit of tape distortion, saturation, I should say, from there as well, which I think sounds really, really good. Flick around with the buttons, see what works best. Like I said at the start, I wanted to go with what sounds best. Let's go with that. Didn't have it on the 30 IPS. I think adds a little bit too much on the lows sometimes. So I've got it on the 15. And then rounding off with the channel strip. Now, the channel strip I have going across all of the tracks, and this emulates what it would be like working on an SSL desk. I've got some filters where I'm filtering out the absolute tops. Don't need that on the kick, so let's move that out. A little bit on the highs as well to get that beta sound. Around about 600 is where that sort of basketball sound lives, and I'm just taking it out slightly. A little bit more, very slightly on those round about 250. I felt that it just needed something. I fiddled around with it. When it sounded good, I stuck with it. The compressor as well on these strips is really, really good on all of them. And it's really good if you use it with other compressors as well. And then, of course, if you need to, there's a gate, but we don't need to use that on this. So I'm routing all of the snares into a snare group. So let's just tick that snare group on. I've got the verb off. I'll turn it on in a minute to show you what that's doing. So these are the snare sounds. I have volumed them out. I'll explain in a minute because I had to add in a fake snare into it to give a true snare sound. Let me just include the plugins on this. And then on the main snare group itself. And then let's bring in this fake snare. Just giving you an actual snare sound. I use Addictive Drums 2 for the drums, and I prefer using that because it gives you more control over room sounds and overhead sounds and various other things. Let's just include that as well. So we got the SSL on the fake snare, just add in some extra bottom to it and a little bit at the top. Plus, I'm adding a little bit of saturation. This would be an input on the desk, and it just adds a little bit of Christmas to the top. Just tickling the compressor on there just to make sure that we've got control over everything, because that's probably the most important thing when you're mixing is control over the tracks, so that you're not just piling everything onto the end, you know, in the groups and the buses at the end. So now what I want to do, let's just bring us back to the start. I want to show you with the verb on. Let's just include this. And now this sounds like it's in a room. And this is the Soundcity plugin. So, you know, there's lots of different things that you can do with the mics, types of mics, the placement. You can say how far away you want it. In the mixer here, you can change the phase. You can take out the tops, bottoms, levels, whatever you need to do. I've got this in the remic mode, which is heavier. You know, it's giving more of the characteristics of the room. The reverb version is a little bit more lighter, and it just gives, you know, obviously a reverb rather than affecting more of the sound. I've been quite heavy on the compressor as well, because I want to make sure that we've got the hit of the drum, and then the rest is coming in afterwards. And then a little bit on the EQ and whatever else we need to. But this is with it. This is without. And then when we blend that in with the rest of the track, it's going to sound like it's all recorded in the same room. There you go. So moving on through the track, let's show you the other stuff. The toms were actually more, let me show you, these are actually more of total drum tracks rather than actual toms. I think the placement of the mic was on the toms, but I don't know if they weren't facing at the skins or whatever they were. They were not doing, I think, what they were designed to do, but that's fine because that gave us a full total kit sound, and that can be blended in. Now, what I did was on each of these, I had to take out a lot of the low end, and I'll show you this. So on this EQ, I'm driving all of that low end out because it just built up too much. And we want the kick to live there, we want the snare to live there, we want the tom to live there, and we don't want too much to build up in those regions, because otherwise it just sounds muddy, and no one wants muddy drums. So let me just play these. So you can hear it's a full kit sound, but I had to take out all of that because we only really wanted the higher end of it, because the low was just muddying up. I'm using this as more dynamics. If we just play that for you, you can see where it's getting too heavy. I'm driving that out. Also, one thing that you'll notice that I've got that's working is I've got a send on the fake snare. I've got several sends. That is sending out to those toms, so that every time the snare hits, it's dropping at the main lower frequency of the snare drum. And I'm doing that so that we're getting more hit from that snare coming through rather than it coming from loads of different areas, so that we've got that punch. That's It's all about the punch of the drums, and that's really important. With this ribbon overhead, this is actually where there's a core tom that lives. I play this, so that's a tom, and that's really the only, you know, one tom that's tracked by itself, and I've put some gating on there so that we're not getting the rest of the track. We're using that as the tom that works quite well. With the overheads, I routed those to a group. Actually, there'd been some processing on it, and it wasn't that bad. So just a few little dynamic shifts in the EQ that I've done on that. So let me just bring in all of the plugins. So I like to have everything that goes through to a dry drum group, and then I have the verbs separately, and then they meet together in the stereo bus of the all drum, and then all of those can be blended together with compression and stuff. So I've got the drum verb muted, and I want to show you what that does when I bring it in. So this is the full kit. So you can see it, you can actually hear there's a bit of bass bleed in there, but that doesn't matter too much. But we've got a cracking snare drum. Kick is kicking. Snare, the cymbals and the hats are working fine. Now, let's bring in the drum verb. This, I think, is adding that special sauce. So if I just mute it, that's the kit by itself. Bring it into a room. And that just gives it the extra little something that sounds like the drum kit was recorded in a room. If you're recording drums yourself, you're recording them at home or in a studio, but it's in a booth, it's not in a live studio. We don't all have access to Abbey Road or Soundcity studios. Getting a plugin like this is giving you thousands of pounds worth of results. It's making it sound like it's recorded in a full room. You can do this with other reverbs. Of course you can. You can just, or several reverbs, have a short and a long reverb if you need to, but it just pulls it all together. It gives an extra glue to the drums as well. And when you combine that with compression, and you have other instruments in that same room as well, using the same verb, then it just ties it all together. And that, if you just listen to that again, it's just giving you a lot. It's giving you the room. There's some lows in there. I'm compressing the hell out of it because I want the transients to come through more. If we just listen to that, I think that's really working. So next, let's jump over to the bass. They gave me two different versions of the bass. There's a clean and there's a distorted. The distorted comes in on the chorus, which adds little extra. It actually sounds pretty cool. They recorded this live. They've got an AKG amp, they got a Sennheiser, and they got a Shure that they've got 3 different on a cab. That's pretty good, that's unusual that you'd get that many mics coming over, so that's brilliant. And obviously the DI as well. Now I am using all of the mics here, various different levels and stuff, and I've got it all going to a group as well so that we can control what we've got. So let's just play this. So I added a little bit of drive to this one here. We just click this back on. It just needed that something a little bit extra. Now with the DI, this is something that I learned from some YouTube channel somewhere, and it really, really works. With the DI, what I've got is I've stripped out all of the highs and I'm just passing the lows, and I've bumped the lows a little bit as well. And that's because I didn't want the lows to be distorted in any way. I wanted it clean so that we've got that low information that's going through. And then with the other tracks, I've got them past higher so that they're not doing the lows. So we've got a clean low from the DI, and then all of the actual drive that's coming from the live amps, as well as obviously that extra driven side, is giving all of that extra information. And then it sounds like this, all going through to a group. I've got a channel strip where I'm taking some stuff out of the top that doesn't need to be there, adding a little bit of extra bite at the top, taking out a little bit of 400 because it was quite a little bit muddy, added in some lows as well, and I'm using the compressor quite heavily on there as well to keep control. It's important on bass to keep control because sometimes, maybe if they're using a pick, it can sometimes pop out, and the bass needs to underline the whole track. You don't necessarily need massive volume spikes. You want it to be a little bit more level across the board. I'm also using the bus compressor, SSL bus compressor as well, being quite heavy with that to keep control as well. All nice, in control. And then with the dynamic EQ, as you'll see here, what I'm doing is I've sidechained to the kick drum. So the kick drum is always knocking out around about that 60 hertz so that the bass isn't interfering with it. It makes quite a bit of difference when you hear that. If we just have the drums back in, you can hear that kick there. If I disengage, it's there. It is subtle, but it is definitely giving space for that kick drum. So that's the dry channels. I've got a little bit of on that DI'd version, I've got a fast compressor that's acting against that to keep that even more in line than everything else because we want that to be level. So that's on the clean side. The distorted bass, we just show you that. This is coming in on the chorus side, and I've got that going to its own group so that I can change the levels on there. Just show you what this sounds like. Oh, very, very distorted. As you can hear, there was a mic that wasn't needed on there because it was just too much. And a lot of that fuzz is coming from the DI. It gives it that fizz and sounds great. And then we put the two together. We show you what it sounds like from the track itself coming in. Still got a bit of fuzz on there. I'm using the vintage drive on there. And then that's just giving that extra fizz when the chorus comes in. And that's the vintage drive, the SSL Fusion vintage drive that I'm using on the dry bass to give it that extra little bit that you need, that I think you need. And then if we put the drums all in together, just undo. If we bring everything in together, then when the chorus comes in, yeah, it's banging. We got some banging stuff going on there. That sounds great. So next, guitars. Yes. Get on to the proper stuff now. So there was a ton of tracks that came over. And what it turned out was it was actually two main guitar tracks, but there was some effects put on it. There's some filters, there's some reverb, and they're given to me as separate tracks. I've used some of those and some I haven't, but they also sent me the DI versions as well, and I used THU on those tracks, matched the amps as well as I could. THU is absolutely fantastic. You get versions of it with Cakewalk, you get versions with it with the Slate Digital plugins as well. I've got a more full version of THU that I use. It's got more amp sims in and stuff. But this is the main one that I'm using. Because there was only 2, and you can hear that in the original track, though, down the middle, it's difficult to get stereo width. And even if you take one guitar and you go far right, far left, and even if you offset them slightly, you still don't get a true stereo sound. But you can get better if you're using different sounds on the left and the right. So I'm using stereo on this, plus a little bit of reverb as well. So let's play you just this track to start off with, which I'm calling Guitar 1. And you can hear we've got something going on both sides as well. So I'm using the tape machine again to give a little bit of extra richness in the bottom, a little bit of tape saturation and such. And then on the channel strip, I'm jacking up the width so that we've got extra width on it as well as the width that we've got. Adding a little bit of extra in the bottom, and then just around about this 3000 range, which I think guitars sometimes need, just a little poke out a little bit. And then on the compressor, I don't usually compress guitars because if they're distorted, that's already kind of compression. So you don't need to add even more compression to it. But it does just tickle this. Just ever so slightly. Really doesn't need it too much. So that's the main Guitar 1. Then we've got a Guitar 2. We've just got a bit more going on to it. We've got some delay going on. So this is what Guitar 2 sounds like. Similar amps, but it's got some chorus. It's got some delay that's happening in there as well. If I hit play on there. So you can hear it's using that chorus in to go on the sides. Then there's this other little guitar part where it does a little bit of tapping, a little bit of finger whittling that's going on there rather than tapping. And I'm using this Harrison, which comes with the plugins. I'm using this tremolo panner that's just ever so slightly moving it from the left to the right so that you can hear that. Also got the SSL X delay on there as well to add a little bit of delay time. Let's listen to all of the guitars. I've got that all again going into a group, and it's going into the SoundCity room as well. Let me show you the SoundCity plugin. So what this is doing is it's like putting a virtual speaker into the room and then it's micing up. And I'm using the reverb setting on this rather than re-micing it to add in a little bit more. But it's the same room as the drums, so that it sounds like it's in the same place. Let's just go back to the start. Let's hit play so that you can hear. And you can hear, if I mute this, and then I bring this in. It adds into that room. Now this track here is a little bit interesting. Let me just play you this. So this is one of the tracks that come over. It's quite filtered. But what I'm using on this is I wanted more width on the track. So I'm using this little micro shift from Sound Toys. This was free. It may still be free. Go and grab it if you can. And it's a little bit like a chorus, kind of. But it adds, but not really. It just adds more width. So if I play this and then turn it off and on, you can hear what it's doing. So that's with it off. The track is bang down the middle. Turn this on, and it's putting it out with not much effect to it. It's got a little chorusy effect, but not too much. And then on the group itself, nothing, because I don't want to compress it. I've done all the work on the tracks themselves, adding a little bit of crispness on around about that 3000 range, and sometimes a little bit higher on some of the others. And that room is just pulling it all together. And then that's all going through to its own stereo bus here. So let's bring in the drums, the bass and the guitar so that we can hear what that sounds like all together. We've got that kick. We've got the snares living now. You can hear that bass. Hear that bass down the middle. Those guitars now live in the stereo field. Got that lower bass that's kicking. And then we've got the tapping section that's going to come, or the whittling section. And then that's moving across. And now we're into the main chorus section. You can hear the bass, because we've got that distorted bass in there as well. It's filling it out. Right, next, let's do some vocals. Let's have a listen to the vocals. There wasn't a massive amount that needed to be done, really. But I'll show you what I've done and how I've done it. In terms of tuning, nothing needs to be done really. I've added meta tune on. There was some slight things where we just needed to hold a note for a little bit longer. I could have used Melodyne, but instead I just used meta tune across it. Really didn't need a lot. The virtual mix rack, what I've done is I've created this one, and then I've actually applied this to all of the separate tracks. So when you see it on the others, it's this. So I always go in with the virtual channel. Again, we're looking for an analog kind of feel. I'm using the Neve to make sure we've got lower end. I will say that the vocal tracks did already have reverb on it, and they'd already had some processing. So I was fighting against some stuff, but I think we managed to pull it off. I've got a fast compressor that's catching those tops and then bringing that down. I've got the virtual drive, the preamp, Neve preamp on this as well, which I like to add a little bit of grit. Got the Neve preamp again. We're upping the volume slightly because it adds a little bit of warmth, catching a little bit with the DSs. Now, I will say that it was S heavy, and I've done my best to reduce that without getting the lift, because we don't want any Chris Eubank on it, and we're trying our best not to overdo that. I do find that a little bit of DSing on different plugins in different places works better than just slamming one, definitely, because you can catch it at different places. And have a DSer on your reverb channel as well on the vocals. That definitely helps. And then we got the LA2A or the FGT2A, which is the Slate version. Always have this on vocals. It adds a bit of character. It's an optical compressor, so it's not the fastest acting, and it just adds as well as takes away, because it's a compressor, right? So let's listen to what we've got. I'll leave the reverb on as well, and I'll show you that in a minute.
When I watch you play, I see a smile light up your face. When I see you splash in the fountain, I never see the water as a way.
So we can see we got a few tracks there of vocals, and then let me show you the reverb. Again, everything's going through to a group where we've got some extra compression on the LA2A. We've got the tape, virtual tape machine. And we've got the SSL de-esser as well that's nibbling away at those pesky S's, keeping stuff in line. Then we've got the reverb on its own channel. I'm using the Verb Suite Classics. I just kind of prefer that this BM7 vocal chamber seems to work quite well. And I've just turned down the highs and the lows a little bit because I felt that we didn't need it. Added a little bit of pre-delay as well so that we're trying to get the reverb out the way of the main vocal. We've got a compressor on there as well, and we've got some extra DS in, and then we've got some EQ to take out the lows, and then control a little bit of the mids and such. Now, with the compressor, I've got this side chained to the main vocal, and I'll explain why. If I hit play on this.
When I watch you play, I see a smile light up your face.
Now, what that's doing is every time she sings, it's dropping the reverb down, and then as she stops singing, it brings the reverb in, so it brings the tail of the reverb in. Now, let me play it with and without so you can hear the difference.
When I watch you play, I see a smile light up your face. When I see you splash in the fountain, I never see the water.
Now, what that does is that gives you control over the reverb, and it makes sure that it's just not swamped with verb. So if you want a verby sound to it, which this track definitely needed, but you don't want it to be absolutely swamped, you can use sidechain compressor like this and use the external down here, and then you can dial it in fast attack so the transients get hit, and then a fairly fast release time so it's coming back in. You can play with those settings, but I have that on every reverb that I do across all of the vocals, just to keep control of it, basically. And I think it gives a really nice effect. Right, let's look at the BVs. We've got quite a lot, but that's fine. It's better having more than only having a couple. And I will say that her harmonies, the singer, the harmonies are excellent. Really, really good. And you can tell that they haven't been auto-tuned or nothing's been done to them. And they're great. There's a couple of little bits in here. There's a little laugh at the start, and there's some breath sounds halfway through, which adds quite a nice little bit of ear candy, I guess you want to call it. And it sounds really great. So I put the same virtual mix track across all of the tracks to make sure that we're handing all of the compression and stuff and the DS in on each track before we get to the main group, which is all the way down here. And then we've just got a compressor across it. Let me give you an example of what these sound like, because they do sound good.
Plunge down a high mountain.
I took out quite a lot of the lows on the backing vocals because I wanted the main vocal to drive that. Panned a lot of them, as you can see, to make this a little bit wide. It's very verb heavy, but again, I'm controlling it with some sidechain stuff as well. So there was a little sort of pre-chorusy bit that I added in some extra reverb by itself. And let me play this here.
Cascading through the floodgates, the sun will set for your sake. Plunge down a high mountain so we can enjoy fountains. Seek your cherished grain.
So that is a full-on background vocal, almost choir-like, which I think sounds brilliant. So right at the end, the way that I like to structure tracks is I have tracks going into groups, in main aux groups, And then I have things going out into stereo buses, where you can see I have sort of background vocals, the vocals, guitars, bass, drums. So I have all of the instrument stuff going into an all instruments bus, so that I can add some compression across that. Not too much, but that just keeps it all together. On these channels, I'm not doing too much. This is more for a little bit of character. So on the guitars, I've got a bus channel, got a little bit of EQ that I felt that I needed to do. And then this revival's great. It adds analog sort of fizz and thickness to tracks. Definitely check that out. With the drums, I'm using the VBC compressor rack, if you like, which has got 3 compressors in it. And this just dials it. In fact, you can turn this on and not even do anything to the settings and it adds something. But then they've got the presets up there. Just play around with it. It adds so much. It adds depth. It adds dynamics. Yeah, everything. I always like to high pass out so that it's not interfering too much with the bottom. As you can see here, you don't want that kick drum to be interfered with too much. So I always high pass it sort of 60 and above to make sure that you've got those lows that are coming through. And then on the drum here is this another new plugin, which is Bus Clipper. This is a new one from Slate Digital. And I'm sure you've come across limiters and clippers before, and they're used to obviously limit and to give you more volume, where it's used to limit, to give you more volume by bringing out the stuff that you don't need. But this just seems more intelligent. You can get way more out of it, way more volume. I think I've got something like an extra 8 dB or something coming from this. And let me just show you. So let me engage just the drums here so you can hear what I'm talking about. Right. So if I click on Delta, what this does is you can hear everything that it's taking away, those little fizzes at the top. If you had those in, when you're using a compressor or whatever else you're using afterwards, it would treat that as the highest volume level. And we can't hear this stuff. So it treats that as the highest volume. But if you're removing that, then that means everything that is audible can come up. And you can use the booster here. I've got it fairly tight on the clipper, but you can go soft or hard with it. Using the oversampling as well, that does some processing before it puts it through it. The CGM here monitors the volume the same as before and same after. And it just adds more control. It means you can put more volume through it. Simple as that. Let me play the instruments bus. Just tickling. Just tickling. And then all of that goes into a main mix bus, which again has a compressor. And I've got the bus clipper in there as well to make sure that we can get more volume out of it, which works really well. Now I want to give a little pro tip. If you're doing a lot of your mixing on headphones like I do, a lot of headphones have different responses, different bass and high responses, and it's important to mix on flat. That's why you have monitors, flat monitors. So what I found is there's a website where you can go and you can put in your make of headphones, and it will actually give you all of the frequencies that you should put into an EQ that remove or increase to make the sound as flat as it possibly can be. Let me show you what I've got here. So I use the SSL plugin. These are ATH M50X's. the headphones that I use. And it basically says, because they've got a higher bass response, remove that, increase here, da 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 da. And what that does is it helps you to have it more flat, so that you know what you're listening to isn't being affected as much by the headphones, so that you can listen to it on different devices and it should be flat. Now, I always listen on different devices as well. Got a tiny little speaker here. I've got crappy little headphones around. So it's good to have a listen on all different things, play it in the car, obviously, just so that you can see how different things react in different ways. Play it out your speaker on your phone and such. So now let me play you the track before, and then we'll cut into the track after, so you can hear the difference. Well, I hope you found that useful. I enjoyed doing it. I think it's a great track. Definitely go and check out whitenoisemachine, the Townsofsunrise, and check out all their other stuff. Go on to Spotify, go onto their website, Instagram, you name it. Thank you very much for allowing me to do that. If you've got a song or you've got a new track coming out that you want help with, hook me up. I'm happy to help, and we can give it a go and I can show you how I did it. If you'd like to see more content like this, please let us know in the comments below. And I know it's a bit of a whistle-stop tour, but if you wanted anything extra on any of the things that I spoke about, or you'd like to know a little bit more in depth on how I did it, then again, let us know, video ideas, and I'm sure we can get on and do it. Don't forget, for all of your affordable music promotion, go to bandcraft.co.uk. We're all about helping out musicians and bands that are trying to get out in the world to get their content looking great. We're not about promoting via playlists, we're all about the content. Music videos, artwork, all of your shorts, cutting up videos, gig posters, you name it. That's the sort of stuff that takes up loads of time. We can help you to get that looking smart, looking great, and get it out on time as well. We've been there, we've done it, and we want to help you guys. We're all about affordability when you don't have Taylor Swift style budgets, but you've got the same level of ambition. We've got some innovative new ways in how we can create music videos for you using footage that doesn't cost the earth, and you don't need studios, and you haven't got $5,000 to spend on catering and lights and things like that. We've also got a brand new app on there which is totally free to use that creates a release schedule for your new track. You just go in there, you put in your track name, you put in the style, you put in when you're going to release it and then your gig dates, and then it will come up with a full calendar of things, when you should do where, some ideas for content. But that's free to use. Go on there, give it a try, bandcraft.co.uk. But for now, go and have a listen to the track. Thank you very much.